Hello, I'm Father George Salzman here at the Harvard Catholic Center. We're in St. Paul's Church at the corner of Bow and Arrow, and for this summer it's been filled with Father Kelly restoring the great frieze behind the main altar. So that was completely full of scaffolding, braces in the basement so that the scaffolding and its weight wouldn't fall through, and then scaffolding and all the wood planks that the workingmen stood on, so it was complete darkness, and now it's transformed into light. There's the line of the poet saying about how the world was once apparelled in celestial light. And in a way you almost see this because it was utterly dark. I had Mass here Sunday, and it was utterly darkened. And then finally the light is back in, and it's transformed. And in a way it's a transfiguration to the sense of the Ascension of Christ, because we see the world not in worldly terms. We see the world not with all the monkey bars and all the work going on that sort of, in a sense, can get in the way of the big picture. But we see the things that are eternal, and God is in charge of the world. And we really need time to come into church and to pray and to sense that and to be lifted up into God's hands. How important that is. Matthew Arnold, just to pick from another Victorian writer, Matthew Arnold had that comment about the strange disease of modern life, with its sick hurry, its divided aims, its heads o'ertaxed, its palsied hearts. In many ways, our rush is sort of a static that keeps us from being in touch with God in prayer and seeing the whole of life and seeing ourselves whole with God included and everyone else too. All the more so in the midst of our hurry amid COVID and trying to make ends meet with salaries lost and payrolls and so on. This past weekend was Labor Day. That's no small thing. We can allow ourselves to be distracted from the messages of the Church, popes for over 100 years, 100 and some decades, about people's right to a living wage, to people to have the right to be not little more than serfs, but to have the right for a just wage for what they do. How important it is for us to see that, in a sense, to see beyond what we're told and sold, and to get back to the really profound truths at the heart of life, each person looking out for another. I wanted to tell you a story, if I could. It's set not here but in Manhattan, and I'll use the theme of the Transfiguration because that's the name of the church involved. But I'll start with a different church. There was a fellow whose friend died, and he wanted him to be buried, and he went to a church, the Church of the Atonement. And the pastor was willing to do it, but then found out the guy who died was an actor, and more or less said he could not do that. It wasn't seemly for his church to do that. But he said, I think there's a little church around the corner that does that kind of thing. And that on 29th Street is a church that's become famous ever since for that line. And it's known first as the little church around the corner. It's on 29th Street, right in downtown Manhattan, and it's actually technically the Church of the Transfiguration. But if you think of it, just that incident, doesn't that transfigure life for you? Like, of the two seeds, in the one or the other, which is closer to what Christ was all about? The founder of the Transfiguration was a priest who actually worked to save blacks from marauding mobs during Civil War riots, and he hid them in the sacristy of the church, he hid them in the school of the church, he hid them actually in the sacristy of the church. And then when the mobs came banging on the door, he actually faced them down to save them. And so when we see life transfigured, we come into church, we get back to ourselves and the truest things and root ourselves in God and the things of God. We're even more equipped to defend others and their rights and our own as well. It's a true transfiguration for us. We're grateful for all the people who made this possible, for us to remind each other of the love of Christ towering over all the work of our day. May God bless you.